Hey everyone, I have stated in the past that I would like to practice some English together with you. So you listen to someone who's not a native a little bit slower, and maybe you can understand the pronunciation better because it's not so alien, to put it some way, or it's alien enough. And also at the same time, I can practice my English. So we together get together and we do some practicing without even knowing each other. So I also want to take advantage of this moment to, early in the morning I had read Senators Ted Cruz, Rafael Cruz speech in front of Congress last August the 6th, I would say. And he was basically criticizing President of the United States, Joe Biden, on his foreign policy. And in doing so, he was using the example of Latin America's current affairs and Colombian elections. Yeah, when I started to listen this speech, I was alarmed, and I was also worried. So I stopped everything I was doing and I tried to collect all his expressions in where I would say he wasn't accurate. And I want to comment on that. And this basically turned into an open letter, to put it some way, because I would like to, I want to imagine I can express myself to the senator, with all respect, of course, about what he tried to say in front of the Congress regarding Latin America and Colombia. So here it is. This is an open letter to Senator Ted Cruz regarding his speech from August the 6th in front of the Senate. Dear Senator Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz, in a recent speech to the Senate early August, you judged President of the United States foreign policy using your views on current events in Latin America. Colombia's new election results were center stage in your speech, as your notion of a growing enemy within the region also was. Your power and privilege allows you to address your ideas and conclusions to a group of people who represent a big chunk of world's greatest politics power. Such power whose policies can affect the lives of millions even beyond the borders of their own jurisdiction. In your speech to the Congress, you have stated 10 Latin American countries or governments are deeply committed to undermining American security and to endangering Americans. You are worried about Colombia joining the ranks of anti-American forces in Latin America. You didn't clear it up in what way these governments were undermining U.S. government's or people's security, nor produce proof of these ranks of anti-American forces. For an older guy like me, I am fearing your words of caution would lead to deadly military actions based on your speech only, the meaning or the message you were intending to send. Certainly uninformed, you have stated that Gustavo Petro is an openly Marxist brought to power by leftist fringe, including guerrilla and terrorist groups. As if you were describing a coup d'etat and not an election where most of the people voted twice to confirm their will in his favor. Were you trying to say more than 10 million civilians have ties or make part of guerrillas or terrorist groups? For most Colombians, living enough time, conflict has been the excuse for our mishaps and poverty while living in the richest of lands. We do not support guerrillas or conflict of any kind. You say Petro will work hand in hand with Nicolás Maduro's oppressive regime in Venezuela, when even recently U.S. government has approached for geopolitical reasons. For decades, Colombia's 30% GDP was sold to Venezuela. So when you guys decided to block Venezuela, you blocked Colombia's economy too. That coincided with the opening of our commercial trade between the US and Colombia. Those two facts alone made Colombia to go from almost zero international balance to basically minus $13 billion a year of red numbers. Yeah. Your Colombian allies, as you call them, saw it worth the sacrifice, saw it fit to take that. If Colombia keeps like this, soon it will be ready for default. Is this what you expect for Colombia to suffer? Colombia and Venezuela share 1,370 miles of direct land frontiers, borders. And more than 10 million Colombians have migrated there for the last 50 years. Basically, Venezuela was providing for a long time the opportunities we didn't have here. So yes, the expression brother countries is not an exaggeration. You said Petro is going to work with the National Liberation Army, a terrorist organization in Colombia. When you say work, you mean he will negotiate a peace treaty supported by the international community and the United Nations? I ask you directly because your words seem to mean something different. You also said he will embrace the FARC. Do you mean he will follow and implement finally the signed and internationally approved peace treaty signed with the extinct FARC? You said he wants to stop oil production. Let me ask you, are you aware about 2030 agenda with the United Nations or the Paris Agreement regarding renewable energies and fossil fuel discarding? Has Petro said he will break ongoing or signed commitments or agreements? You also say he will roll back cooperation with the US. You mean Colombia wants Roundup banned just as it is in the United States? Or you don't think that is a fair position? When you say rollback, what exactly do you mean? Do you believe in fair trade, for example, or the concept of an ally that you have has more subtle implications? You repeat and emphasize your opening statement about Latin American countries, saying Petro is deeply committed in weakening and undermining the US-Colombian relationship. Isn't that irresponsible, having in mind he wasn't in office when you stated that? When you say committed, what exactly do you mean? It really sounds weird. And really not weird. Weird is not the word I really want. The word I want is terrifying. I am terrified your uninformed, irresponsible, subtle, and subjective speech is taken seriously. I am. You are powerful. Your words are heard, and people with power are listening. You dare to say you hope and pray that his rhetoric and language in the past is not carried forward in policies. He hasn't said a word against the US. Instead, you are updating your institution with inaccurate visions and certainly rhetoric, almost hate speech. Then you repeat Petro is a Marxist anti-American. Something perhaps understood by some as a label to his head as a target. Your responsibility and place in this world is too important for being irresponsibly inaccurate to people with such power. I hope they already know you better. Thank you.